Welcome to Prepare For Takeoff. I'm the creator and host, Terry L. Cyrus. We're the podcast dedicated to amplifying Black excellence. Every week, we sit down with a proven professional or rising entrepreneur. And this week, we're sitting down with founder and CEO of It's My Money, Patrina Dixon. Patrina, what's going on?
What's up, Terry? How are you?
I'm good. Well, look, first off, let me salute you and all of what it is you're doing. You deserve all the flowers and praise, and I'm just so proud of all of the things you're doing. I wanted to take a moment to unpack your journey to our viewers and listeners. So with all that being said, where did it start for you?
Oh my gosh, how much time do you have? So I was born and raised in Connecticut and spent many years there, recently relocated to Florida, and I'm enjoying my time here. So while in Connecticut, I lived in many different places within the urban areas of Connecticut. And then as I became a mom, I moved to different areas within the Connecticut area.
What was it like for you growing up in Connecticut?
I really love Connecticut. I love the four seasons that Connecticut brings. I grew up in, areas that aren't ideal, but they were where I grew up. I had fun. I didn't know any better as I was going through the process. As I got older, I began to experience more, and I saw other areas and wanted to better understand one area versus the other. So I got to see that, there were some things that weren't ideal that was in the community for which I lived in. So that was kind of, I started off in the projects. Then I moved to what I call another area of the urban area. And that was off an avenue called Albany Avenue. So I lived off of that avenue on one of the side streets there. But then my mother, thank God for my mom, she put me into a school that was out of area. So I took a couple buses to get to school. And that is kind of like how I got started.
I tell people sometimes when you have to navigate adversity at an early age, it definitely prepares you for later success. Do you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for everything that I've gone through. And it actually helps me to connect with the audience that I'm often in front of, because a lot of people that I get the wonderful opportunity to speak to facilitate workshops for, are people that are either currently sitting in an environment that I used to be in, or newly in an environment that I am in today. So definitely it helps round out not only what I'm certified to do, but my experiences leading up to where I am right now. That completely makes me well-rounded in being able to deliver what I do.
Right. And it gives you more bandwidth because you can relate to people based on where they find themselves at currently. And it gives you the opportunity to share, the hope that you can offer them as it relates to, if I can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely.
I was in your position many years ago, and whether it's in a under-resourced community, whether it's in a housing project, whatever the case may be. But then at some point you became a mom, correct?
That's correct. And let me just comment on what you said earlier. So yes, I oftentimes, and again, oftentimes I get asked, what's the difference? Like, why you? There's a lot of people that's teaching personal finance, and a lot of people are and doing really well at doing so. But one of my secret sauces is the audiences that I get in front of are people that have a similar journey, right? And are trying to navigate the waters that I have navigated. So that definitely adds to the richness of what I'm able to bring and the value that I'm able to bring when speaking to those audiences.
I agree, because a lot of times people find themselves in situations, whether it's based on how they were raised, where they were raised, the lack of resources. And then sometimes when you become a single parent, sometimes that can serve as a barrier. Was that a barrier that you found yourself having to navigate as well in your life?
So I'm not going to call becoming a mom a barrier. I'm going to say that was the spark in my life where I knew before it was like, I should do things differently. Maybe I should. There were some things that I didn't like that I wanted to do differently, but if I don't, oh well. But becoming a mom, 4:59 a.m. on July 5th, 1990 was the start of who you see here today. I knew that I had to be somebody different. I knew I had to be somebody that this little person looks at and can see joy, can see happiness, can find peace. So that was, I want to call it, ignited me to not just desire to be different, but execute on things to actually show her that everything she wanted to do was possible. Was it hard? Absolutely. Did I think I can do it? Yes. And I knew it was in me to make it happen.
I love how you were able to distinguish between something that many may see as a barrier and by comparison to you seen as a motivator. Because I too see that as a motivator being a parent. I became a parent much later in life, but I still found myself doing things to make certain that she has a smoother path than what I had, or I can
Absolutely.
provide her resources that maybe I didn't have, or the leg of my race may look different than the leg of her race. And I think we
Absolutely.
need to sometimes find something beyond us to work toward. And I have heard from many people that became parents at an earlier age, because you said 1990, I thought you weren't a day over 35, your daggone self.
God bless you, Terry. God bless you. Yeah,
I
19.
wasn't ready for that number.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought you was gonna say 2001. You said 90. You
So
threw
let
me
me,
there.
that's important to my story because I was a young mom. So I was a statistic. Now think about this for a moment. I was a young mom that lived, a young Black mom that lived in an urban area that was a daughter of a single mom. Like that
Mm,
was my story, but that wasn't my barrier, right? That was my
mm,
story. And that person was the start, not the start, because I had started some things along the way, but that was the person that said, you want to know what? This may be what the outside calls me, but I, as a Black woman, as a single mom that was raised by an amazing single mother, I can show my daughter there's tons of possibility. And that drove me to do the things that I did. Like it didn't shy me away from moving to areas that I wasn't familiar with, right? That I was one of one in, that that I wanted to learn how to do money differently. It was, all of those things that I knew I needed to do for her, made it happen. Regardless of what didn't happen for me, I wanted to make sure that it happened for her.
hmm And I'm sure that realizing that maybe money may have been tight at some point in time, you realize, okay, I'm going to make money my thing, and I'm going to go into the financial arena so I can figure out how money works. So my question to you is, did you know early on that you wanted to go into finance, or was that something that just happened organically?
No, what I knew, Terry, was I need to go to work, I need to climb the corporate ladder, and I need to pay bills sometimes and sometimes not. That's what I knew. I knew like I need, there was going to be some sacrifices that needed to be made, but I didn't know like make money differently, like learn how to invest. Like I didn't know that. I knew what I watched, and that was go to work, pay your bills or not, right? And I keep saying that because that was reality. Sometimes the lights may get cut off, sometimes not. That's what I learned, and I thought I'm going to do it a little bit differently, right? Because I'm making more money, I'm more, I have more education, etc. And I thought that a little bit of modification would make the great difference. And until I was not only a parent. Now she was probably like in middle school when I started to think about money differently. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm working in an environment where I'm making like what I would call good money at that time. Why don't I have any money saved? Why am I like one paycheck from everything blowing up? Right? I really
hmm
got to think about this, and I got to learn from those that knew how to do it better than me. And then that's what I started to do. I became a student of money and a student of people that had done it better. And then
hmm
once I got that thing right,
You
that's
was
when I was like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to learn how to do this. Like, why didn't I know this? And then that's how the journey began.
exposure representation is key,
Yes.
because we can't expect people to know what they don't know. And if they're not exposed to seeing people who looks like them doing what it is that they can see themselves doing, then that's something that may be a tall task that we can ask of them. During that journey in which you came to realize you should be doing money different, was there a fair level of representation to see other sisters, other brothers doing things that you felt like you should be doing differently? Or was it people from other communities kind of embracing you and saying, hey, listen, let me kind of like put you under our wing and let you know this is how you should kind of consider doing some things to get yourself from where you are now to where you may want to go?
Yeah, it was neither of those. It was, it wasn't, you know what it was? And I talked about this not too long ago. It was when you're in a circle, when you are like, I'll call it five broke people, you become the sixth broke person. I
Right,
then
right.
got into, I wanted to, I didn't want to, I'm not going to say remove myself from that circle. I went to different circles, let's call it that, right? So I would be around people that had more than what I had. And I wanted to understand, like, it's not like I'm asking them, but I'm listening to the conversations and you know, sometimes feel a little bit embarrassed that I couldn't contribute, that I was going on my next vacation, that I was closing on my beach home, right? So it was more of like, okay, in order for me to participate in this conversation, you know, I have to have my own nuggets to be able to do so. So it was more about that. So my network change, which made me level up, not compare, not wanting to be someone else, but wanting to my goals change. I saw that other things were possible, and the way that I was spending my money was not helpful for me or my daughter, right?
Mhm.
Because it was literally, I'll still call it broker than a joke, regardless how much I was making. I didn't save like I save now. I didn't pay bills like I pay them now. You know, all of those things. It was just, you know, whatever, robbing Peter to pay Paul, all of those things I was literally doing while working and while making good money. So it was, you know, when I started to think about it differently, you know, then I could say, oh yeah, I just got back from, you know, Jamaica or wherever it is that I'm going, you know, what I'm doing. It wasn't, I was unable to participate in those conversations. So that was in some cases embarrassing, right? Because I'm you know, I'm within the circles making the money that everybody else is, but I just didn't know how to do it like everybody else was doing it. So like I had a different network of people that I would be with a little bit more often. I then became a student. I was an avid student of people that do what I do now. They were doing that then. And I just followed and took the steps and took in what made sense for me to do. And sometimes, I'm being very honest, I'm like, shh, I don't got time. What's working? What I'm doing now is working for me. Like I can't even. It's too much. I don't want to budget. I don't want to do all of that. I want to just get paid, and I know what I can spend. I know up here what my mortgage costs and all that. And then I would start all over again. Let me just do it. I want to do it differently. Let me just do it. And then, you know, you're gonna have those pullbacks, and you're gonna have those. And listen, this was my famous statement. I'm grown. If I want to chill out in Starbucks, if I want to go, you know, Kelly, my daughter's name is Kelly. Kelly and I go and, you know, have lobster for the weekend because I worked hard to do so. I always justify that I'm grown. I make good money. I should be able to do this. And I, you know, I then had to remember, like, I'm too grown for my own self right now. And because like I said, I was a young mom. So I, you know, I was able for, you know, wonderfully accomplishment getting in my first home really early. And that wasn't even because I saved and aggressively do the things that I'm talking about now. That was just an aspiration that I had for some time, and I worked towards it. I'm not even gonna say I worked towards it. It happened in the way that it I guess should have happened. It wasn't even that I was such an avid of financial literacy that I got into the first home that I got into. It you know, it was like I had enough money to make it happen, and I just, you know, I found the right house that was a starter home for the both of us, and it worked out well. But I still was not the best person with my money. So yeah, after I became that student that went after the money like I did, I'm like, I need to show everybody how to do this. So remember those friends? And I heard Michelle Obama say that sometimes you have to pull yourself away so that you can go back. And I remember going back, like, let me show you guys how to do this. Like, oh my gosh, like, it's amazing. Like, if you do this and you put some aside and what can happen. And that's exactly what I did. Like, literally, I went back to, you know, friends and family and showed them the things that I had learned when I became the student of money and showed them how to do it. And then it started to be, everybody started to ask me. And I'm like, because girlfriend, you know. So I'm like, okay, so let me see how I can monetize this. That's how it started. That's literally how it started. Like, I can teach everybody how to do it. Some people wanted it, some people not. And then it's like, you know, more people should have it. And, you know, the people that I learned from, there were two individuals that I sought my financial education from. And as I began to become more literate, financially literate, I then became those, what those two were for me, I became that for my community. So that's just how it worked.
I tell people, especially in our community, no matter where you were born and raised, mentally, we're all from Missouri because we're all from the show me state. And it took you to do something and to allow the people who was part of your tribe to see you in a manner that represented your new reality. Yes. Because if you're standing beside somebody and your circumstances is the same as theirs, they're not going to be inclined to listen to you. They're like, well, who are you to tell me? You're right here with me. Exactly. We both in the broke boat. Exactly. So how you talk to me about money? But if you come back to rescue me, I'm like, okay, where's the life raft? Where's the life jacket? The whole nine. So now, how long of a process was that?
Yeah, so I mean, it was years. I want to say 3 years before I got full solid footing. It was about 3 years. And I tell people when I start working with them, like, especially when they're working on credit, like if it took you 8 years to mess up your credit, don't think it's going to take you 8 days to get your credit all straight. You know what I mean? So it took me because, Terry, for me, it was about a solid foundation. It was not, I need to fix this, change this, have this amount in. I wanted to change habits. And that took some time. Like I would say, oh, scrap this. I'm just going to go ahead and go and spend this or spend that or buy this or buy that. So it took some time to really change the habit, like really have the why, like, why am I really doing this? And so I want to say about a 3-year period to get what I want to call a more comfortable state. Now, am I financially free? I would say no, I'm still working towards that journey. And for me, financially free is I own my time. I have what my friend Ash Cash used to say, you have that FU money, right? So you don't have to take nothing from nobody because you know you can. Oftentimes people deal with a lot of stuff, or we deal with a lot of stuff because we know we can't just walk away from things, because then our lifestyle would change if we did that because of the means that we have, right? So it's still working towards that, because what happened for me personally was once I got that footing, and then you begin to make more, but then you begin to spend more, and then your credit limits on your cards get larger. That's why the habits are important, because if you don't change habits and then more gets extended to you, then you just have a bigger problem than you had before, right? You know, you have nicer stuff. You may live in a nicer neighborhood. You may have, name brands you didn't have before, but you also have the bills that come with that, right? So for me, it was like and this is the way that I teach, like the financial foundation. Don't put the roof on, the siding on, unless you have that rock solid foundation. And for me, that took several years to make happen. So, and then it was like, you can go into, not all stores, but you can go into some stores and be like, yeah, okay, I'll take that. It's not like, well, let me see how much that is, and let me balance. You know what I mean? So, because that was my reality. Well, hold on. And then, or you'll give your card and you're like, whew, okay, that one went through, or the person will come over to you and be like, can we have another form of tender? Like, that was the lane I was in. And that was not when I was not making, what I would call good money. But it was still broke. Good money, but define my definition of broke, because people can define broke in a different way. It was broke because I was broke in spirit about it. I was broke in mind about it. And then I was broken literacy about it. So once those things started to heal, then because you got to first heal and then get on the path to go the other way.
I also tell people the importance of chasing the process of what's going to hopefully make you successful than success in and of itself. Because if you're chasing success, you may miss some steps along the journey that will allow you to make certain that success is sustainable. And I think,
what is that? Right? What is that? What does success mean?
Right. Yeah. I think we all define what success is. Like your definition of success may be different from mine and vice versa. Right. So that's a very good point. And that question, it can be answered in so many different ways. There's really no wrong answer. You define what that answer is. I know people who they may feel as though they're successful, but they might be because they have a good peace of mind, or they may feel like they're successful because they have a lot of money in the bank, or they may feel like they're successful because their children can be educated, or whatever the case may be. So everybody's going to define success differently. But how I like to define success is walking in your purpose on purpose. That's what I think success is, because I think at the end of the day, if we want to go spiritual, and I'm gonna take them to church, then I think at the end of the day, God puts us on this earth for a reason, and we all have a purpose, and it's up to us to find out what that purpose is. And the enemy, it is his job to keep you away from your purpose. And I would say that 9 times out of 10, your purpose is directly tied to your passion. What are you passionate about? Are you passionate about helping people? Are you passionate about outreach? Whatever it might be. Chances are, if you're willing to pursue that, regardless of how dark that road may look, how you may not see light at the end of the tunnel, but if you walk in faith and pursue that passion will eventually allow you to find your purpose. And then once you find your purpose and the fulfillment that comes with that, that's what I think success is, because there's no price that you can put on fulfillment that you get from doing something that you feel like God put you on this earth to do.
Exactly right. I completely agree with you. I think on all fronts that success is defined differently depending on the person, and that when you walk in your purpose, I completely believe that as well. There is I cannot explain to you when I work with people individually and they start at point A. And my husband always say it's not A to Z, it's A through Z. And then they do the steps to get to the next place. And they tell me, and then like say they stop working with me for a period of time. We finished the program and now they're back working with me, or not back working with me. I run into them and they're like, Patrina, my credit score is at I have this amount saved. I'm like, oh my gosh, like they are so excited because they not only did they get to what I call the other side, they have sustained it, because it wasn't like, I want to fix this, correct this. It was like, how do I consistently do this money thing so that I can sustain the results that I achieve when we in the program? And that, is so rewarding, because now, I talk often about one individual that I am thinking of in my head, like, don't tell your children, no, you can't do this. Like maybe tomorrow we'll offer another alternative, do, something different that they would like as well. But if you don't have anything in your arsenal to offer up as the next thing, the first thing you're frustrated, you're already tired from work. So instead of saying, no, you can't go to McDonald's, I don't know why that one keeps coming about. I love McDonald's, so I don't know why McDonald's always come out. But parents, kids, I talk about kids see the, golden arcs I did when I was younger, and the parents say, no, they don't have enough or whatever have you. But maybe like tonight we're going to have movie night. So it's not like the McDonald's they don't want, but now they are thinking about the movie night. You already got the whatever, the cheese board prepared for them, whatever it is that they like as well. So then you've taken their mind off of that without saying something that is negative as it pertains to money. So that's another way that you can begin to change how you talk about it with those that may not be at the same place as you. Same thing with people borrowing money, like loaning money to family members and friends. Don't say, no, I don't have it. Say, I may have it on Friday and I can do 20. Right? Versus, no, I won't, I can again, and all of that. Tell them when and tell them how much. And sometimes that's 20, you may not get back, but you've taken control of that. So you feel better about it, because there are going to be people that feel to themselves or have to take care of someone else, and they have to write that in their budget and plan. But you can't overextend yourself helping someone else. So define it, let them know what it is, so now they can even have a sense of what they're going to get, so they won't overcommit themselves on whatever they're going to do with the money that they were expecting. So that's those are two different ways that I share with people how to approach it. Don't say no, say on Friday and it'll be 20, versus I don't have it this time. Or, no, not 50, and then, or give them 50 and now you can't pay your car payment because you've given them 50. So it's just thinking about things differently. And that comes with people. That comes with planning. When you sit down with your own money, you know what you have to pay your own things, to help somebody else, if that's what you plan to do philanthropic giving, whatever it is. But it comes with you sitting down with your money regularly and knowing what you have to do with what. So those conversations, those responses will flow out because you've prepared accordingly.
I tell people all the time the importance of running your life like a business. And at the end of the day, if you run your life like a business and you have expense reports, you have how much money's going in versus how much money's going out, then you can kind of allow that to serve as a guide to keep you from going under. And for me, I've been in business for 20 years, so that's second nature to me. But a lot of times people just kind of assume that it's okay to make emotional decisions. You can't make emotional decisions professionally, and you can't make emotional decisions personally. So with all that being said, being an entrepreneur, sometimes it can be rough, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Not imagine that I know.
Right. You know that to be a fact.
I know that to be a fact.
Right. But let me ask you this question. At some point, you discovered that you wanted to understand money differently. At what point in time did you realize you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, great question. So I got the entrepreneur bug way early. I was a lollipop girl in high school. My mom used to bring me these big lollipops home. My aunt sometimes would give me. I was an only child. I was my aunt's only niece at the time, or niece that she was around at the time. She didn't have a daughter, and I would get these big lollipops that I didn't pay anything for. So I learned early about the cost of goods. I didn't pay anything for it, and I made 50 cents per lollipop. At high school. I was in the corner at Northwest Catholic selling lollipops.
Right.
That was me. I was the lollipop girl. So early on, I was like, okay, so if I don't have to spend anything, I can make this. So it began to, be other things like that. And then it was like, a long stretch of time before that was a reality, right? And then, like I told you, the financial business came where so many people would ask me questions. Can you come talk about it? Oh, I'm at a family event. Well, what's that thing that you was telling me about this, or, this, that, or the other? And it was a financial topic. So I'm like, group workshop, start to think about things differently. And then I still didn't go. Let me tell you about this. When I had the idea to go out, because when I did some self reflection about why didn't I know about this? Why did it take me so long to get here once I got to that place? I thought about it. I was like, you know what? My mom couldn't teach me what she didn't know how to do, right? Or wasn't taught herself. So I'm like, I was in school for X period of time. So, number of hours a day. School is where it should be taught like that. So then I started thinking about that. How can I help children learn this so that they will start their financial journeys right versus making mistakes like I did and then trying to climb out of the hole that sometimes we get in, right? So it was, okay, let me write a book. School, book, like those two things kind of go together. That's how I thought. So I dropped my first book in 2016, and it didn't sell. Like it just was not moving. I thought, I felt it was a surreal moment when I held it in my hand. It's on Amazon. It did not move. Why didn't it move, my friend Terry? No marketing. I had no dollars for marketing. I just thought it's a book. It made sense. It's going to happen. Right. So I put the books in my car. I went to various schools. I handed them out. I met with principals, and then it took off like wildfire. Everybody asked me to come and speak about it. Everybody bought copies. I was selling books by the hundreds to schools and things like that. And people asked for it in Spanish. I had it translated in Spanish. Like it was the thing, right? And that book, after somebody telling me, when you go into schools, people are not going to relate to you, because now I'm an older woman at this time, right? They're not going to relate. So it took me a year before I actually went forth with the idea that I had. So once it caught on, that book translated into students of their parents bought their book, and then they came and I read the book, each chapter with them on certain days. So I had that going on. Each parent paid for that. I then got speaking engagements. So I would go to schools and places and talk about the book. I then started, my podcast. I then started, so all of these various different things came from the wanting to teach more people how to manage their money and trying to figure out how, because I, Patrina, couldn't be in all these spots at one time. How can I scale? And it was, I dropped the book. I did workshops. I went into, I did speaking engagements. I would go in and be like an adjunct speaker into a college. Like all of those things came from me wanting to get more people to hear it at a younger age before they messed up. And I also get asked. So then you have the kids are now asking, Mom, what's this? What's that? So now the parents are calling my phone, like, now you got to help me, because now I don't know how to answer these questions to my kids. So then I would do parent sessions, grandparent sessions. The towns would hire me for grandparent sessions. So that one book translated into many streams of income. Now it's a trademark brand. It's My Money is a trademark brand that I own in the financial space. So it got started. So the passion was, I wanted to learn for myself and my family. I was no different than a lot of different people who wanted the same, but didn't know a trusted resource that understood the type of financial things that they were dealing with. And then that became my tribe. And then it just went off from there.
One of the things you said earlier is the importance of a foundation. So your foundation was the book.
Yes.
And then you were able to build on that foundation.
That's right.
To grow into all those different areas.
That's right.
And I just had a conversation with somebody, and he was talking about the importance of content, and whether that content is publishing, whether that content is some type of programming or podcast, you name it. I think that what it allows you to do is it allows you to introduce who you are and what it is you do and what your area of expertise is. And
That's
then
exactly right.
it gives you a talking point.
Exactly right. Exactly. And then oftentimes when people would bring me in to speak, then I would, to your point, the upsell is buy my book as the sustaining thing. Because once I leave after the 90 minutes, then, they need something else to continue it on. They're not going to like hire me every day to come in there. So they buy the book so they can hand out to all the attendees, all the students or all the whomever. Right. So the book still, the volume 1 still sells. I have volume 2, volume 3 coming soon. All of them are affectionately known as It's My Money. And that's what the brand is about. It's my money. I'm going to be the best steward of it. I'm going to treat it right. I'm going to earn it passively. Like all the positive things about money. That's what the brand is about. Like I always have people chant it in the room that I'm in. I want to say when I say whose money is it, I want you to chant, it's my money. And I get that all the time when I walk in the room. So that's what it's all about. It's about just ensuring that you are doing best by your money. And the famous Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. And my role, my job, my purpose is to help people know better. And then hopefully they will do better.
You're walking in your purpose on purpose. As I mentioned before, you dropped volume 1, volume 2. So when is volume 3 coming?
That's a great question. It'll likely be in 2025.
It's My Money volume 2. When did that drop?
2021.
What goes into feeling the need to come up with another volume? Because I'm sure there's a lot of game that you give them in each volume. Do you leave them wanting more, or the circumstances that we find ourselves in, whether that's our financial climate and having to navigate that, is that what prompts the different volumes, or is it just more information that you've come to realize that you want to share with your readers?
It's a little bit of the last part you said, but the original structure, but because when I dropped the first one, I got asked to go everywhere. It didn't happen the way I originally planned. So what's supposed to happen, happened. And that is, I said, when I decided to write the volume, the 3 set, I said I was going to drop one year, this volume 2, the second year, volume 3, the next year. And that did not go that way. And the intent was volume 1 would be for high school students. Volume 2 was going to be from high school to age 25 or 26, I think it was. And then volume 3 would be for beyond, right? Mm-hmm. And life happened. And what I mean by that is when volume 1 dropped, instead of just getting back to the drawing board and writing the second one, I got asked to go everywhere and to talk about it. And I was going everywhere, and I didn't have the capacity to even sit down and put the pen to paper for, right, if you will, for the second one. So then when it was like, okay, I got that, I learned more as I was going along, and then volume 2 came. So the intent was initially designed to be for different audiences. And then as each volume comes about, so volume 2 has more than volume 1 and align more for that population, if you will. And then volume 3 will have even more because I've learned even more since that. And to your point, the times that we are in today, I won't like add that aspect, but because of the times that we are in today, it will allow me to go a little bit deeper in certain areas that I may not have gone if we weren't experiencing what we are right now. So that's what I mean about things happen when they're supposed to happen. So this volume 3 will definitely be the richness that will be in it will be based off experience, right? And I think that when that does drop, it will be an amazing resource for the population. Well, I'll call it beyond the college age. So I had to even go away from saying college. I had to go to college age versus college students, because as we all know, not everybody goes to college from high school. And I wanted that to be a resource from anybody that age. So an example of something that may be different from 1 to 2 is You talk a lot about like the FAFSA process, because that's what they're, touching when they're in high school going to college, not as much in the next volume. That's an example of something that may be different from one. I didn't get into investing in the first one. I brought that in a little bit more into the second one. So those are how depending on the demographic is what I did within the book. And I do that even when I speak live, like, budgeting is budgeting. So if I'm in a high school versus a college versus, at the YWCA as an example, how budgeting is the same, but how I talk about the needs of budgeting differ based on the audience that I'm in front of. Right.
Mhm.
So that's how I bring the content alive. Knowing who I'm going to stand in front of. So it helps me with the examples. It helps me with the illustrations up on the screen, like all of that, all of what I wear. All of that goes into play, depending on the audience. So, and that's how I prepare, and become relatable to whomever I'm standing in front of, because I know I learn about them before I get there as best as possible. Because
Right.
that perfect scenario is not always, but it is often.
I tell people all the time the importance of meeting people where they are rather than where you want them to be, because you don't want to alienate anyone. Like you mentioned, everybody doesn't go to college, but
Exactly.
everybody is college age, and entrepreneurialism is something that that's something that can apply to anybody. That can apply to somebody that is transitioning back into the community from serving time behind the wall, translate to somebody leaving their years of service in the military,
Yep.
somebody going to the workforce, or somebody that's looking to transition out of the workforce. And all of those things are rooted in money and understanding how money works.
Listen, I was successful. I'd be remiss if I didn't say this on this show. I was successful. It took me 4.5 years. And I still today was the lone person who would go to our state senator in Connecticut to say personal finance needs to be a required course in all schools in Connecticut. All schools. So I would often send him information, when another state passed a law, like Connecticut, this grand state that we are when I was there, we need to have this for our students. So 4.5 years later, yes, other people did come aboard, but I was that champion for that to happen. Connecticut became the 21st state to pass law that every high school student need to take a full semester half credit course before graduation. So that was because my purpose was not about me getting business. It was about making sure our children in all communities, because I was there in Connecticut and I would be in one community versus another. One school would not even have any mention of it, and another school had it as an elective. Another school has it as a requirement. Like, we need to make this equitable. Everybody need access to the information. And eventually it was heard, and we became the 21st state. I was invited by the governor's office where he signed the bill. I actually have a copy of the bill in the pen. So I was really excited about that. And I bring that up to say I don't think there's any one thing that you can do, profession, if you're stay at home, whatever it is that you do, you have to understand how to manage money. You have to understand how to manage money, no matter what it is that you do. Understand how it works. Have some sort of budgeting. Call it your money meeting, your cash flow, whatever you want to call it. But you have to understand what's coming in and what's going out. Simply, and then if you want to become an entrepreneur, however you do it in your personal is how you're going to do it on the other side. So if you don't got it right over here, you ain't going to get it right over there. You can hire a professional to be your bookkeeper, your tax professional, whatever it is. You still have to have an understanding of what's happening. So it's a really important, I call it a necessity, that people understand it. So when Connecticut passed that, I was like so happy. I can't even explain to you. And so the other thing I'll say from that is, yes, one person can make a change. If you are diligent and you're pursuing the right people that could actually influence change, is possible. Now, it may take a little bit of time, but it's certainly possible. In that law that was passed, Senate Bill 1165, I even remember it. It was signed in 2023. It is possible. It is possible.
That's great work, because, like you said, the work extends beyond you, and that work is going to impact millions of kids for years to come. It was because of, your steadfast determination that became a reality for the state of Connecticut. So salute to you. I continue to be amazed by your story, your journey. And I'm sure there's other people that you come in contact with that say, I think I understand money, or maybe I don't understand money. But one of the things that people don't necessarily understand until you find yourself in the thick of it is what it is to be an entrepreneur. So with that being said, what are some of the things that you feel would help somebody if they're looking to become their own boss, have their own business? What are some of the tips that you would give them to kind of start that journey?
Yeah. So one, quickly identify your strengths and your weaknesses. Quickly identify your strengths and your weaknesses. When I first started off, said I can do all the roles, right? And not probably, I did them all, but did I do them well? No. If I had started off with somebody doing tasks that I was not good at, then I probably could have gotten to a different place sooner. So I would say identify your strengths and weaknesses, the things that you are weak in, hire somebody to do that. It is best spent money when you have somebody that is an expert in something that you don't know how to do that your business needs. So that's what I would say. If you are not at the place where you have the capital to do so, when you get to that place, don't think, well, I got here already, so I don't need them. But you can go faster when you have somebody on your team that's an expert in what they know how to do. So that's what I would say. My lane of genius is getting in front of the room, talking about what I talk about. I do not want to create presentations. I don't do them well. My picture is always to the side. Like when they do it, it's beautiful. I click the button, things move. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to learn how to do that. That's why I have an amazing people that work with me. I call with me, not for me, that do all the things that they love doing that I don't know how to do. So again, you may not be able to start off that way, but know that you want to work to that. And that leads me to my next thing. Have a plan. Like there is one thing to grow and another thing to scale. One of the reasons why I wanted to get into business is, like I said, I want to own my time, do what I want to do when I want to do it, go where I want to go, etc. So if that is something or a reason why you're getting in business, then you have to map out what it is that you need to be able to give you what you're looking for within your business, whatever that may be for you. If it's a restaurant and you want to have more than one, okay, where's the next place? What does it take to open that one? Because it may be different than what it took to open this one. So you have to map all of those things out and use the free resources. SCORE, SCORE, just like it's spelled. That is an organization of most time retired individuals that have done various different things within the professional environment. That's free resources for you. Utilize them. They have scores all over the place. Utilize them. They have a lot of online tools as well. And then get a mentor, right? Somebody that's doing something that you would like to do. All of us like to share things to help the next person. Somebody's done it for us, so we often like to do it for others. And if it's somebody that you really want to work with and they don't want to do it, don't do it, because the experience is not going to be great. So just find somebody else. There's a lot of people doing great things. Terry's show identifies a lot of people doing great things. Find somebody that's doing what you like to do and then ask them, just simply ask them the question. Be mindful that they're probably busy. Find time. Don't want, an hour of their time. Maybe start with 15 minutes and then make that valuable. Take notes. Because one of the things I don't like, I'm just letting you know, is when I do give the time and I give you, drop the nuggets, and then we have that 15 minutes or so, and then now we get on our next call and you're asking me the exact same questions over again. Like I feel like then you're not valuing the time that's being spent, because you're not walking away with the nuggets because you aren't taking notes. You're just like having a conversation. But if a person is going to take their time and share with you things that can be beneficial for your business, make sure you're capturing that. Now, I'm okay with the 15 minutes on other stuff because I've committed to do that, but the same things over and over, that means you're not taking in, you may not be serious in that I'm just telling you that's what the receiver, the person given, that's how they feel about it if they find themselves regurgitating the same things over and over during those periods of time. So I'll say again, identify strengths and weaknesses, hire people in the spots that you are weak if you're able to do that because you have the capital to do so. Go to SCORE and work with people that have done the things that you're trying to do and can offer you insight, and then find you a mentor that's in the same thing that you're trying to do. Because if you want to be in the money game and you get a mentor in the Terry's game, they may not be able to offer you the same type of guidance like a person that's in the same niche.
Right. I agree. I'll tell people the importance of surrounding yourself by people that you want to be or who you want to aspire to become. Because we heard when we were, kids, to stay away from certain people because, they're into things that our parents didn't want us to find ourselves into. So the same works in reverse. Like,
Yes.
if you want to find yourself succeeding, find successful people. If you want to become an entrepreneur, surround yourself by entrepreneurs. If you want to be somebody who understands, your money, surround yourself by people like Patrina. And it's really that simple. And you're right. People are going to always be willing to help those who seem to be receptive to the information that you're giving them. And I'll take it a step further, the importance of allowing people to see themselves in you. That will make them be even more inclined to make an investment because people will at some point look at you and say, you know what, I was where you were at one point in time. So the same way someone invested in me, I want to invest in you. That has helped me immensely on my journey because in school, they don't teach you those classes. They don't teach you how to be an entrepreneur. They don't teach you media or film, television, music, all of these hats that I found myself wearing. That's something that I had to learn organically, but I learned based on the people that I surrounded myself with. And I showed those people that I had a high aptitude to not only retain new information, but apply it accordingly.
That's
So
right.
so if you can show those individuals that, it's just like school. They're going to teach you new information and we're going to give you a test. If you get an A, that means you can retain information and apply it accordingly. So that's the importance of education, because education is going to set you up for success in life. Because when people are able to see that you're able to do that at a high level, then they're going to keep you around because everybody wants to expand what their operation looks like. And if they can force multiply mirror images of themselves, they're going to always welcome that as an opportunity to grow their organization.
That's right.
And so as we close, what are 3 things that you feel will help people prepare for takeoff?
Oh, what an amazing question. So I thank you so much for having me on the show. 3 things to prepare for takeoff. Wow. How am I going to answer that? One would be know that you can do it. Know that you can do it. So prepare mentally to know that you can do it. Don't stop yourself by thinking because your aunt didn't do it, your mother didn't do it, your father didn't do it, you can't do it. You can do whatever you put your mind to it. It's all about executing on the things that you learn from Terry and I or whomever else that you listen to. So you can do it. Change your mindset. Know that you can. Secondly, write it down and make it plain. Write it down and make it plain. Life happens every day. So if you have it up here, the thought that you want to do, what you want to do next, who you want to meet with, mentor by, then life happens and those things go outside of your head quickly. So make sure that you write down the plan and then monitor it regularly. So write it down and make it plain. And then lastly, I would say celebrate the wins, big or small. Big or small. So if you today have not started your business, you have the idea and you go and you get your business name in your LLC, guess what? That is a win. Celebrate that. Congratulate. Don't say, well, I just got my name. That's all I did. That's something that you didn't have before yesterday. So celebrate the wins. So celebrate yourself all the time. Know that you can do whatever it is that you want to do.
Those are great nuggets, to say the least. And I'm sure it'll help our viewers and listeners prepare for takeoff. And I'm sure many of our viewers and listeners, they're going to want to get even more nuggets that we were able to, capture in this limited amount of time. So how can people follow you on social media, or what website can they reach you at?
Yeah, absolutely. So on social media across all platforms, and yes, I'm on TikTok too, it's at It's My Money _. So that's ITSMYMONEY _. My website is itsmymoney.info. itsmymoney.info. So on my website, you get a ton of information. There's also a financial blog that is written once a week. So that gives you a lot of resources to help you along your financial journey. And if you want your do-it-yourself platform where you get videos and things like that to help you along your financial journey, there's also It's My Money Academy. You can get to that from my website as well. So it's mymoneyacademy.com, or you can get it directly from my website. So let me tell you, before you got here today, if you weren't going along the money journey that you would like, it's okay. There, all of us were there once and sometimes get there again. You can take steps forward. All you have to do is execute, and nobody has to know where you are today and where you will be tomorrow. That's between you and your computer. So make sure that you go on and do what you need to do to get where you need to go. Hopefully that this has been encouraging to you and provide you some tips to help you along the way. And again, like I said, I produce a weekly blog, which is written information if that's the way you want to get it. If you want to listen or watch it, I do have a podcast as well. You can access that from the website. And your girl is always present on social media. So that's It's My Money _. Thank you so much for having me on.
And thank you for giving us so much of your time and sharing all of these wonderful nuggets. You've been definitely putting me up on game this entire time. I'm sure not only me, but our viewers and our listeners and everybody that's, able to kind of receive this information. I'm so proud of the work that you're doing, not just in Connecticut, but I know you've moved down south now. I believe you're in the Sunshine State, enjoying that great weather. I know that you're going to continue to enrich them in Florida as you've enriched people in Connecticut and beyond. So much continued success to you. Also wanted to thank our viewers, whether you're watching us or whether you're listening on Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, or Pandora. As you know, every Wednesday we drop new episodes featuring proven professionals or rising entrepreneurs. And all of these conversations, just like this one, will help you prepare for takeoff. Patrina, thanks for joining us.
Something?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Then I'll end with this. The only situation that can place a limitation on your elevation, on your financial or entrepreneurial destination is procrastination. So just do it. You got this.
Now that was dope, man. That's how you close out a show. That's what's up. But Patrina, thank you so much. Just know that we are true fans of the work you do. And I'm sure that fan base is going to continue to grow, courtesy of Prepare for Takeoff. So once again, much continued success.
Thank you. Thank you. Likewise.